All right, so today we'll be looking at quadratic graphs. It's one of the important topics in the IG syllabus. All right, so I'll be writing a few notes and you can be writing as we go. So we want to look at quadratic graphs. So make sure you use maybe the back of your notebook if you're using the same one we're using at school. Okay, so what you need to understand is that a quadratic graph is also called a parabola, right? So we're going to write that it is also called a parabola, right? So now that we know the definition or the other name for a quadratic graph, you must know the general shape. In maths, we have about 4 or more different types of graphs, and you must know the general shapes of those graphs. So the general shape is like this or like that. So whenever you are trying to draw a quadratic graph, make sure you expect a shape like this. Some call it a smiley face and some call it a sad face. Some call this one a valley and the sky a mountain, isn't it? So whenever
Yes,
you're
sir.
dealing with quadratic graphs, you must know that you should encounter these type of shapes. Now, I'm going to write the general equations of a quadratic graph. So it's coming from a quadratic equation. You have y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. And then for this one, for you to get a mountain or a sad face, your a must be negative. So this will be given by a graph with this type of equation, minus ax squared plus bx plus c. So whenever the coefficient of the squared term, whenever you find that the coefficient of the squared term is positive, you get a value. If the coefficient of the squared term is negative, you get a mountain, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So before you even plot a graph, you can actually try and visualize the outcome. All right. So now let's look at this. There are certain things that are important for you to get a quadratic graph. And the most important part of a quadratic graph is this section. Let me just quickly highlight it. You must be having the squared term. You must be having the squared what? The squared term. And don't get confused because I wrote A, B, and C. These are simple integers, or they can be any values. These are just simple numbers. I'm sure from your algebra, you know that A can be any number, maybe 7. B can also be any number, -2. C can also be any number, 5, or even 0, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
All right. So now the next thing that we need to establish is for you to draw any graph in IGMS, you will need to draw a table of values. So step 2, we're going to be looking at the table of values. Right. So suppose you have an equation which goes y equals x squared minus 1. And they want you to draw the graph. The first thing that you need to do, let's write solution here. The first thing that you need to do is to draw a table of values. And the reason why they call this guy a table of values is simply a grid showing you the different values of the coordinates, right? So whenever we are dealing with graphs, we have two main values, two main variables. We have x and y. And in your exam, you're going to be given maybe the x values, and they want you to find some of the y values, if not all. So I'm going to give you the starting x values that start at -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, and 3. So this is the case that you'll be having in an exam. They'll give you the equation, they'll give you a table of values which is not like fully completed. Just like that question 1A, the one we're gonna look at like after this example. So for you to find the values of y, you do simple substitution. You take a value of x, you put it in the equation, and then you get the resulting value of y. Are we together on that?
Yes, sir.
All right, so let's do an example. You don't really need to show this working in your book, but that's fine. So if x is -2, this is the first guy, we want to know the corresponding value of y. So what you do is you write your equation. Since you're just starting out, you write your equation, y is x squared minus 1, and we take the actual value or the current value of x and put it in the equation. So y is gonna be -2 squared minus 1. Now, you're gonna need to write this. You can use your calculator to help you. What is -2 squared?
-4.
Okay, it's not gonna be -4, it's gonna be +4. So
Oh, okay.
you can use your calculator to help you because you're just starting out, but -2 squared simply means -2 times another -2, and this will give you a +4. So to avoid confusion, you can simply punch everything as it is in the calculator. Where I put the brackets, you must also put the brackets. So if you punch this guy in the calculator, you're going to get 4 minus 1, and your final answer will be 3. Are we together?
Yes, sir.
And then you move on to your table and you write if x is -2, y is 3, like that. Are we together?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If I'm moving too fast, you just let me know and I'll slow down. Okay. Now let's move on to the second column. What about if x is -1? So if x is
Is it going?
okay, you can tell me the answer.
Is it 1 plus 1?
All right. It's not going to be 1 plus 1 because in our equation we have a minus. So it's going to be 1 minus 1, right? So let's
Yes,
do
sir.
our substitution. Write our equation, y equals x squared minus 1. And then y equals our x value. In this case, at this instance, it's -1. We take -1, we replace x with x minus 1. So we have -1 squared minus 1. And you don't need to worry once you have this expression. You just need to punch it in your calculator. Make sure you put brackets where I put my brackets. So it's going to be 0. Can you try that and confirm that the answer is 0?
Yes, sir. Yeah, the answer is 0.
Perfect. So if x is -1, y is going to be 0. And then you do the same for all the other values. Now, for the sake of time, if x is 0, I'm going to be doing this in my head. If x is 0, we put 0 there. y will be -1. Can you see that?
Yes, sir.
0 minus 1. So we have -1 there. If x is 1, we have 1 squared. And 1 squared is 1 minus 1, we're going to get 0.
0.
If x is 2, we're going to get 2 squared, that's 4, minus 1, that's what? 3.
3.
And then if x is 3, we'll put that in the equation, that's 3 squared minus 1.
5.
3 squared minus 1. You can use your calculator for that.
Oh, it's 8.
Okay, perfect. So it's going to be 8. So now that we have fully completed our table of values, we need to move on to the next step, which is actually plotting the graph. So let me quickly erase this part, and we can plot our graph. All right, so again, you don't need to show this working when you're writing your exam. You can do it on a side piece of paper, and everything will be fine. So now I'm going to try and plot this graph. Once you have completed your table of values, this was step 1. The step 2 is to actually plot the graph. And you normally do the plotting on a grid paper or a graph paper. So what we're going to need to do is, I'm going to draw a Cartesian plane like this. Fine. Okay. This is a Cartesian plane. And this is where we do our graphing, where we draw our graphs in maths. And for IG, you only have a Cartesian plane with 2 axes. The horizontal axis, which is called the x-axis, and the vertical one that's going up is the y-axis, right?
Yes, sir.
So on the x-axis, you're going to put your numbers, the x values. So right at the middle here, you have your point of intersection. This is where you have 0. As you go to the right, the numbers of x increase from 1, 2, and 3. And as you go to the left, the numbers of x decrease from -1, -2, and -3. Are we together?
Yes, sir.
For the y values now, we have 0. We're increasing our numbers as we go up, and we need to get to 8. So I'm going to kind of cluster my numbers there. So we have 1, we have 2, we have 3, we have 4, we have 5, 6, 7, and 8 there. Then as we go down, we have -1, -2, -3, -4, and lastly -5. Okay, so this is fine. Now what we're going to do is we're going to plot our Cartesian plane, right? We're going to plot on our Cartesian plane. So normally I'm going to show you how we do it on a graph paper. But for starters, let's just use this sketch. If x is -2, what is y? Y is 3, right?
Yes, sir.
You go to your x-axis, you identify -2. Once you have identified the x value, you are allowed only to go up or down in search of the value of y, right?
Yes.
So x is -2. Now I'm looking for y. The value of y in this case is what? 3.
3.
So it's gonna be somewhere around here because it is horizontally away from that 3, isn't it? Are we together?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now we move on to -1. -1 and 0. We go to x is -1. Once we're at -1, We're supposed to move up and down, and we look for the value of y. In this case, if we move up, we'll be going to 1, 2, and 3. If we move down, that's -1, -2, -3. 0 is actually here on the x-axis. Are we together? I don't need to move.
Yes, sir.
Then we move on to the last. If x is 0, we get -1. You go to x is 0 right in the middle of the graph. You go up or down looking for y. So for us to get y, should we move up or down?
Down.
Down. So we're going down until we reach y is what? -1 there.
That's 1.
Then we do the same for 1. X is 1. Now what we need to do is go up and down. We go up. We don't need to go up because this is 0. So 0 is always on the line there. Then for 2, we go up, we find 3. For 3, we go up and we get 8. Isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So now, once you have plotted your points, you are supposed to join them using a straight line. Let me use this blue guy. Oh, you don't use a straight line. You don't use a ruler for curves. You must use freehand. It might take
Yes, sir.
quite a while and practice for you to get a nice shape, but make sure you draw a smooth curve. Okay. It's my smooth curve like that. Okay, I'm gonna make it bold. And yeah. All right. So this is gonna be your graph. Okay. Any questions on this one? So this will give you something maybe like 2 marks, and this will most probably give you 4 marks.
Yes, sir.
So normally graph questions can go up to 12 marks. So I'm sure you can see you're already halfway.
Yes.
Okay, so that's fine. Now we want to practice this. We want to look at a real question, past exam question, and then we want to try and find the values and fill in the table, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so here we have a table of values. And let me zoom it in so that we understand. Okay, here we have a table of values. As you can see, we have all the x values filled up, but some of the y values are missing. They want us to find the y values for 2 marks. And the best way you do that is to do substitution, right? I'm
Yes,
gonna
sir.
do this guy and you do the last two, this one and this one, right?
Yes, sir.
So for simplicity's sake, this is gonna be my working. If x is 2, right here, I want to know the value of y. And the way I do that, I need to write the equation. Y is equal to 1 plus 5x minus x squared, right? That's our equation. If you give it y, it gives you x. If you give it x, you get the y values, right?
Yes, sir.
So this is what I'm gonna do. Y is equal to 1 plus y. Can you tell me the next step?
Is it 5? Then you put in brackets 2.
Yes, 5 and then 2 minus 2 and then squared. Make sure you put the brackets whenever you're doing your substitution.
Yes, sir.
All right. And then You can use your calculator for that, but I want to pause the video and then I'll give you this worksheet. I want you to fill in some of the things by yourself, and then we can continue, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so y equals 1 plus 5 times 2, that's 10. So we have 11 there minus 4. What is 11 minus 4?
7.
Yes, perfect. So at this part, we're going to get 7, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
That's fine. So I want you to fill up this. Can you quickly take a screenshot and then you do that? I'm going to restart the session just now.
Yes, sir.
Giving you 5 minutes.
Okay, I took a screenshot.
All right. So yeah, I'm going to restart the session just now. Fill up the table and draw the graph, isn't it? And then you send it to me.
Yes, sir.
Oh, good.
Okay, sir.